Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the happy hour with OLA. Welcome. We're gonna have some fun today. Let me just do some housekeeping things really quickly. Let's make sure our audio is working fine. Yes. Let's make sure you can hear me. Awesome, cool. We made sure of that. We got a few topics we're gonna cover today. As usual, we'll come live every Tuesday, and we'll come here just to talk about some of the trending topics, some of the things that are more relaxed topic, not the usual business, just happy hour type of stuff, but just gisting and talking, relationships, life, love, men, but more so for men. Okay, women can also listen in and just understand what they should expect from a man, provided they are managing their expectations as well. The worst thing you can do with expectation is to not manage it. Okay, we all have expectations, and one thing I try to do here is that there's no room for gender wars or anything like that. But I'm not gonna be naive and say that some of the things I would say may trigger some people into that zone. But my encouragement, as always, is don't do it. You're not going to benefit from entering or engaging in any type of gender war, because at the end of the day, we have we have more in common than we like to admit. We tend to focus on the differences just because it's human behavior is natural, because it's our way of defending ourselves. It's a defense mechanisms of some sort. It's survival behavior. But we're also human beings, which means our brain has the capacity, if we are patient enough, to rise above that and learn some deeper stuff. The obvious is somebody is right, everyone else is wrong, and you're right, and you tend to pay attention to where the idea is to protect yourself. I get it, right? But in the long run, protecting yourself in the short term is not always protecting yourself in the long term. And that's where you can tap into the capacity of a human brain and think a little bit deeper than the obvious, right? The obvious is right and wrong. The obvious is I'm justified, you are not, right? But there's always more to the story. And that's what we're here to talk about. So we've got a few things that we're going to talk about. And I think we're going to have fun talking about the 5 topics we've picked up for today. I think you're going to like it. With that being said, let's get into it. All right, so this is another channel that it's starting to come on my radar a lot. As you can see, I'm subscribing right now, and the idea here is they're also mentoring men, it looks like, right? So I've noticed there's quite a few of them out there, but for at least 5 years right now, I felt like there's some things I wanted to share with young men anywhere between 34 and 45 to maybe 50ish. Let's say 24 to 50. I felt like there's some insights I wanted to share, just to offer something else to consider outside of the norm, right? And these guys are having that conversation, the roommates, right? So you will probably see me reference some of their videos sometimes. This video here, society is attempting to redefine masculinity, is actually episode 261 of the Roommates podcast. By the way, a quick plug here. Go find Empire Lifestyle podcast. So all the content we do here, if you want to listen on the go, they're published. Well, actually not the happy hour. Okay, more so the marriage and the real estate stuff. Okay, so I don't know if we have the capacity to put the happy hour up there. Well, I'll consider that. But you go find it still, Empire Lifestyle, and on your favorite podcast channel. So we have that. It should be episode 800 and something, 900 and something up there. So I just don't promote it as much. All right, so this guy right here, they're talking about masculinity. Apparently there's some publication, cover of a magazine with a transgender on it. So some of these things are sparking off some very, very deep, difficult conversations. And I applaud all the conversations. They should be had, okay? Because if the conversation are not had or not being had, it's still going on internally, and it becomes an unhealthy thing when people are not having it. Can become unhealthy when people are not having the conversations. So I applaud the conversations, but somehow, some way, it always goes to either threatening masculinity. There's never really a conversation that tends to threaten femininity, right? Not okay. I think it's feminism, right? Not femininity. Those are two different things. I think it's feminism, basically the feministic movement, right? Or feminist movement, right? What threatens feminist movement is existing structures of the patriarchy structure of the society as it is today. That is not necessarily a threat. It's the reality of a lot of status quo, things that are oppressive to women and children, from my personal observation, okay? Now we could start dissecting the statistics and going back and forth, but that's not the point of this channel. The point of this channel is to show you what is and learn how to maneuver around it and still win as an individual, especially as a man in the society we're in. You can still be a loser, even though. So for any woman that's listening, a man can still be a loser in a patriarchy society, because the patriarchy society does not equals to guarantee the man wins. And I don't need to make a case for that. You can just look around you and you can see men are not a monolith, and they come in different classes, different type of human beings, characters, personalities, right? So, and there are definitely men that have not figured things out, and they're trying to figure things out. There are also men that have not figured things out, and they're not trying to figure things out. They have a hard time looking in the mirror and taking responsibility, considering that there's a lot of things that's in the structure in their favor. But some would argue that, oh yeah, but we also have, some would argue also that, men built everything. They should have more. Well, that's not the point of the conversation. The point of the conversation is that, do you feel like your masculinity is threatened? If you feel like your masculinity is threatened, right? That usually means that there's something for you to learn, right? If you're confused, maybe it's time to learn something new, right? So with that being said, there's some of the comment. As usual, we'll try to focus on comment reaction. But before I go into that, let me just see if I can play a little bit of clip here of what this gentleman said here.
Oh, I took notes while you were talking.
Okay.
And the first thing that came to my mind about men was society's trying to make men more fluid.
Yes. They're not as strong, not as hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so to me, by making them more fluid, they're more flexible. They're not rigid. They're not stuck. What did women say? Stuck in their
ways.
In their ways.
Yep.
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something I realized is 100% true. And by nature, usually who's fluid? It's women.
Yeah.
Women are usually the more fluid ones, Yeah. And
all right, so as you know, I don't have time to listen to these long-winded conversations. I just don't. I'm sorry. But I catch a glimpse or a few points here and there. And the idea that men are being encouraged to be more fluid is not new. I mean, if you listen to Bruce Lee has a quote out there about being like water, being flexible. That's not a bad thing by any stretch. That's not a thing that should threaten masculinity. In fact, in my opinion, I think a true masculinity should have a healthy level of fluidity and flexibility. Why? Because reality in life, you're going to need to be that. If you're rigid, society and reality will work against you, right? Why? Because there's so many variables. There's so many moving variables. So sometimes you need to switch mode as fast as humanly possible. And if you're so rigid and you call it alpha or masculinity, you missed it. Because honestly, true masculinity structures into it some kind of fluidity and flexibility. And even if it's not by default, it becomes default because masculinity understands that they give to femininity, right? To create a healthy level of femininity, right? So if you're gonna do that, that means you're listening, and if you're listening, that's already a healthy level. If you're an active listener, that's already a healthy level of fluidity and flexibility, because that means you're listening to stuff to take into consideration, as opposed to getting locked up in your own ideologies, right? Which always works against an average human being, right? There's consequences to not being fluid enough or flexible. And it's true that most women kind of come natural like that until you force them into their masculinity. Means it's extra hard. And the reason why that's hard is because it's out of place for a typical woman to become a masculine nature. It's out of order, right? So that's going to work completely against relationships or a healthy level of peace in any type of relationship. So with that being said, I see somebody say Man, this was real. Thanks. Okay. Actually, there was some. I grew up in a foster care, addicted to screens, didn't have consistent guidance or framework to be a man. I wish someone would mentor me like how father teaches a son. So here's the problem. As a masculine man, especially in this society of the modern women, it is still your responsibility to remain fluid and flexible to receive more and learn more, right? You don't get to say, hey, I didn't learn it. You can if you want, but there's consequences for that. The consequences is that you're still going to suffer, regardless if it's your fault or not. It's not about fault. So reality is not about fault, right and wrong. We try to make it out to be right and wrong, black and white, but there's suffering ahead of that kind of outlook on life. You should assume that nobody owes you anything, and it's your responsibility to stay listening actively so you can learn how to make the next proper move in this game of life. It's a game. Don't get it twisted. It's a game. It's not a joke, and you're responsible to continue to pay attention beyond just right and wrong. All right, so we have this other topic here, balancing your business and marriage by Dan Locke. Dan Locke is a guy that I pay attention to his marketing activities because I am a marketer at heart. So I do pay attention to whatever he's up to. And this topic came across my news feed or my video feed, and I found it fascinating. I decided to play. I'll be honest, I don't play all of his videos because they seem quite overhead for new beginners and stuff like that, which is probably a good reason why he wins heavy on this channel. He has 3.67 million subscribers. So when I see marriage, of course, that's one of my favorite topics in the world. Why? Because it's the epitome, I don't know if that's a word, right, of relationships, right? Kind of like the highest order structure of relationship as respected by most human beings. So balancing your business and marriage. I'm going to play a little bit of this clip right here. So this lady is asking a question. Did you ever feel like she had to lose her identity? So you find a lot of modern women will say, my identity, this, I lost myself, I did this. So anytime somebody gets into a space where they say they lost themselves, it's a feeling, okay? It's not necessarily reality. What you'll find a lot of times is feelings is far from what most men will consider reality. But let me take this back really quickly. Feelings are part of the reality. They are part of the realities you have to deal with. So you don't get to say, nah, all facts and reality. We're not dealing with feelings. You're already dealing with it. By even acting that way and reacting that way, you're literally dealing with it. Probably more that's probably a little bit more of a toxic way to deal with it, but you don't get to choose if you deal with it or not. You will deal with it because that reaction is a form of dealing with it, more so in a toxic and not so productive way, right? But if you acknowledge that feelings are a real part of life, if you don't have feelings, people are going to bring feelings into the equation when you're dealing with them in relationships, business or personal or romantic. It doesn't matter. People bring feelings. Why? Because they're people, right? So let's not deceive ourselves. Let's get it together. So she asked this question. Let me play a little bit of the clip. And I found the answer fascinating. By the way, any of these videos, make sure you go find the videos and actually watch it, okay? You'll see the title. All you have to do is search on YouTube and go watch the video so you can have proper context when we're done with the session, right? But I'll give you my own point here, and then we'll take it from there.
Did you ever feel like she had to lose her identity?
Yes.
Excuse me?
I'll grab her. I'll let her talk.
So she said, did you ever feel like she had to lose her identity? And he goes, yes. And that answer right there is a trigger for a lot of people. It's either a trigger for most ladies or modern women, or a trigger for men who overly pander to women, right? That's not always a good thing either. I've always had a problem with the Derek Jacksons of the world because they come from I'm honest, I'm just being honest place, and they think they deserve a special accolade because they are honest or trustworthy, and that's not how life works. I dare to say that most women don't care about your honesty, because there are times where you say, I'm being honest, and it makes them feel terrible, and they will kick against it faster than you know it. I'm just being honest. Well, you're full of shit because your honesty doesn't make me feel right? And that doesn't, by default, that doesn't make you, or subsequently, that doesn't make you deserve special accolade because you're being honest. You also have to be aware of where you're sowing seeds, right? What kind of ground or soil or ground that your seeds are falling on. Is it being received, right? If you're given some kind of gift, is it being received? If it's not being received, you're not giving love, even if your intentions are good, right? So that would be a trigger right there when he said, yes, you have to lose your identity. See, a lot of people get into this delusional place where identity, I lost myself. Well, you lost yourself because you were not in a healthy mental space, right? And it's a feeling, right? Losing yourself, if we really start to unpack everything, does not always mean a bad thing. It means a bad thing when you feel like you lost yourself. It's the feeling that makes it a bad thing. But there's a lot of people, I'm talking about losing the identity part, right? There are certain identities that you probably don't even want in the grand scheme of things, because that's actually creating suffering for you. It may be comfortable in the moment, but it's creating suffering for you in the long term. And would you rather, in the long term, create a better life for yourself, or just be uncomfortable a little bit in the moment? Those are some of the questions that because he went and brought his wife,
Right? So hard to feel.
and she answered graciously. And I want you to find a way to listen to it. But before you go do that, let me show you some of the comments that we saw here. So this person said, it's really simple. Do not mix business and marriage, and you will have a more simpler and happier life. This person sound like they did not listen to the video. There is no such thing as not mixing business and marriage. By default, we're human beings. Our lives, our different aspects of our life will spill over. Why? Because we're not perfect, and we're not designed to be perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. Okay? Affection is the only form of perfection that exists. Okay? Meaning you have to be affectionate in terms of how you listen to others and understanding other human beings. Starting with yourself, right? Because if you do understand yourself, you know that every form of honesty you bring to the table is actually dishonest for the most part. Why? Because you don't know yourself. You don't know yourself until you're put into certain positions, into certain situation. That's when you find out how you react to certain things in life, right? And if you can just acknowledge that, right, that will be the closest you will ever get to honesty. Understanding that you're always evolving as a human being, right? So I laugh all the time when people come with the outlook of right and wrong. I know it, I figure it out. Well, unless you're a lawyer or you're a judge in the court of law, even in the court of law, they still have to listen to everyone making a case for themselves. They still have to listen to see what kind of defense they're going to bring to the table before they can declare a person guilty or not. How much more in real life when emotions are at play, where there are variables that you don't always see everything up front, right? There are so many things going on, right? Spiritually, physically, psychologically, right? There's all you can see is the viewpoint in front of you, less than 180 degrees at any point in time, but there's a massive more than 180 degrees behind you at any point in time. So it is kind of it tends to be counterproductive to relationships and to life and love, to just always look at things from a right and wrong standpoint, because your idea of right and wrong they have limitations based on your belief system, what you know, which is almost nothing compared to the amount of knowledge in the world, right? So wisdom starts with, I don't know anything. I'm always listening. I'm always paying attention. I don't jump to conclusions, regardless of how obvious it looks up front, right? I don't jump into conclusions, right? So this person is mixing things up. It's marriage and business will mix together by default, and that's the point. And also going back to the point of the identity, yes, both the man and the woman, when you create a new dynamic of two people coming together, will lose identity. The question is that, is your outlook on life translating that to a bad thing? Or, hey, there's a little bit of confusion we're creating. It's time to learn something new. The open-mindedness part of it is where the productivity and all of that is, right? But if you're closed-minded, then you will feel attacked every time you lose a little bit of identity. And then when you feel attacked, guess what you do? You defend. When you defend, you create more chaos for yourself. It may feel good in the moment. You may feel like you're holding everyone accountable. You may feel like you're just blunt. You're telling everybody I said this, right? In the long run, people are going to run away from you. And you may tell yourself in the moment, like, that's okay, I don't care. I tell the truth. But in the long run, it creates suffering, and that's what I'm trying to say here. So I think it's one of those things that I've always believed in, that's not popular opinion. Yes, when you create new relationships, not just marriage, you will lose yourself. It's a fact of life. So that's not a bad thing. It just means you should lean in and understand the new dynamics that you're creating at that point in time. All right. So we have, again, as usual, these guys are blowing up, so they're probably going to be on my radar for a while. By the way, let me keep saying I respect these two guys, because anytime you can come out of nowhere and people start paying attention is everything, okay? It's the currency of business, currency of any kind of message you're trying to put out into the world. And if they can get attention, I mean, they're almost 400,000 subscribers right now. Kudos to them. Shout out to them for doing the work they're doing. However, I stay with my point. Myron has a lot to learn. To me, it feels like Fresh is more so a guy who is learning as he's going, which is a lot wiser than the smartest guy in the room. Okay, so I want you to think deeper about that, right? The smartest in the room is probably the guy who knows how to read a book, memorize everything, and knows them back to back, every fact, statistics. That's Myron, no questions asked, right? But this guy listens a lot more Fresh, and when you listen a lot more, the people that listen a lot more tend to have a lot more wisdom, because they're processing before they talk, right? They're not just talking from what they know, they're processing before they talk. So of course, this is one of their favorite topics. This is one of the reasons why they will never ever marry again. Both of them, by the way, says they will never ever marry again. I am a married man. I've been married for 14 years in August, and coming up August. And I'm happily married. I'm glad I'm married. My marriage was never ever perfect, but I like it exactly like that. And I'll tell you why, okay? Why I like it like that. I believe that the growth of a man is inside of the relationships he's finding himself. Keep in mind, I said finding himself. It's not exactly necessarily creating relationships. Contrary to popular belief, we find ourselves in relationships. Why? Not because we're not making decisions like adults. It's just because that's what human beings do. Relationship. We're social beings. We have to be in some kind of business, transaction, relationship, some kind of coexisting with other human beings. That's just how it works. Okay? We don't get to decide we don't want to do that. We can change the structure in how much we do that, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be exposed to relationships. And when you're exposed to relationships, there's consequences for that, both good and bad. We don't get to avoid it. So what is your job as a man, especially as a man in this society? You learn how to manage relationships, starting by learning how to nurture relationships. See, it can come off very natural to women to nurture relationship. But for men, everything is cutthroat because we call ourselves alphas and masculines. And we are in denial that there is such a thing as toxic masculinity. Yes, there is. Anything that's ever been created in this world or that exists in this world does have a toxic version of it. The same thing with feministic movements, right? There is toxic feminism. There is, okay? What does that mean? When it becomes toxic in a relationship, that's toxic, okay? The rest of it, figure it out. If you have specific questions, ask them, and I'll answer them. But there's toxic version of all of the above. And and even water. Okay, so let's not deceive ourselves. But let me play some of these videos, and then I'll look at the comments, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it.
Guys, man,
I got off scot-free. Thank the
if
Lord.
there's anything you guys can learn from this broadcast, it's
Nope.
to marriage,
Nope.
to cohabitation,
Nope.
and nope to marriage one more time. Because that,
Nope to marriage, nope to cohabitations, and what is it they said again? Basically, nope to let me see, there was a third one.
Nope.
to cohabitation,
Nope.
and nope to marriage one more time. Because that,
No to marriage, no to cohabitation, no to marriage one more time. And that's supposed to help you prevent all the calamities and the catastrophes that comes with marriage. Well, marriage is not the problem by itself. Okay, I've got news flash for all of you young gentlemen out there. Some of them are older than myself. I'm 41. Many of them are 51 who are living in sexless marriages or in a position where they don't feel like they have a say in their relationship, and because they think the solution to it is to avoid relationships by way of avoiding marriage. And see, when you do that, it's like running away from your own shadow. Like every time you look, there you are again, right? That's deceiving yourself. Basically, the problem you have with a marriage is the problem you have with how you handle relationships. Is the problem you have with, first, the relationship with yourself. Okay? Because if you have a good relationship with yourself, what happens is that you naturally attract better relationships with other human beings, including women, in the form of a marriage. So now, there's nothing wrong with avoiding marriage if that's what it was always been. But if you're doing that because you think you will avoid the negative sides of marriage, case in point, a $3.5 million expenses per year for, what is it for? For spousal support, right? What do you call it? Alimony, something like that, right? You think you're going to avoid that by avoiding marriage? You're deceiving yourself. That money, if that money was the true consequences of marriage, you will attract it with the other types of relationships you create. Because again, you don't get to decide if you create relationships or not. You're a human. So for example, I know for a fact, based on what we're watching right now, that Myron is in a relationship with Fresh, right? They have some kind of business relationship, quote unquote personal relationships, because again, there's no way you do an intimate business relationship where you're doing a show every day with people and you don't find yourself in an intimate position with them. You are in an intimate position with them, meaning they can hurt your feelings. The fact that they can hurt your feelings, they're in a position to cut deep into your heart and hurt your feelings by, like, let's say tomorrow Fresh decide not to show up to work and he said, nah, fuck Myron, I'm not coming back to work again, right? He's a piece of crap, right? Will that not hurt his feelings? Yes, it will. So if the way he handles marriage is how he handles his relationship with Fresh, it's gonna show up. It's like a shadow. It will continue to show up, and that's the point I'm making here today. Okay, so gentlemen, young men, and old men alike, all of them, and young ladies. A lot of young ladies think they can avoid marriage and avoid life. No, you will miss out on the beauty of life. That's what's going to happen, because you will still create relationships. And when you create this relationship knowingly or unknowingly, you're going to bring that toxic vibe, the toxic vibe that says when you create relationships, it's always negative. You just think it's marriage, but this is your outlook on life. Let's be honest. It's just your outlook generally on life. You will create that, and what happens is that you will hurt yourself in the process. Okay? Where I'm from, we say in your life, which means our relationships, people are the clothing, your covering. Okay? You don't cover yourself. Your coverings come from other people. So if you don't learn how to nurture relationships and you blame it on the institution of marriage, it's going to bite you in other ways, because again, you're trying to put this marriage thing into some kind of black and white box, and it's not. Why is it not? Well, on paper, marriage is black and white, but because it involves human beings, right? It's not black and white. It's just not. Okay? So how do you manage that? Oh, by learning how to manage the relationship with yourself first. You cannot do self-development without learning how to manage relationship with self. And the relationship with self is precisely how you're going to attract relationship. It's precisely what dictates what kind of relationship you attract with others. All right. So this person says, when it comes to marriage, use the Nike slogan and do the opposite. Just don't do it. See, that's stupid. Marriage is not, doesn't exist by itself without people. It's the people you get to blame for the results of marriage that we have. Simple as that. Enjoy your peace, prosperity, and freedom. All right. If it was that simple, no one would be getting married in the first place, right? Because what's the point? There is something that people are looking for in a marriage or romantic relationship, like he said, cohabitating with other people. It's called connection. It's a basic human need. It's one of the 6 basic human needs. You have connection, you have growth, you have contribution, you have varieties, you have certainty, right? And you have one more, right? You could Google that. I think Tony Robbins preaches that a lot. There are 6 basic human needs. One of them is connection. Some other people call that love, right? But you need to connect with other human beings, or if you can't do that, you just won't feel complete fulfillment as a human being, as a normal human being. Okay, so there is no such thing as peace, prosperity, freedom without relationships. Okay, and for the most part, it's even better to do in a marriage. Just my personal opinion. But the key thing is, the problem here is not avoiding marriage. It's avoiding marriage because you're trying to avoid the negatives that come with marriage, which is direct result of the people in the marriage and not marriage by itself. I want you to think deep about that. This is how I personally roll. I work, live, and even really date. All right, so this is a person, this is all cap. You should learn how to recognize cap when you're reading them, right? But all on my terms. There's nothing you do on your terms in the true sense of it. On your terms only when you learn how to manage relationships, starting with relationship with yourself. Nothing else, okay? This is a black and white way of looking at life, and it always fails at one point or the other. It has nothing to do with money, by the way, okay? Because money doesn't give you peace of mind. Money multiplies what you already have. I am on my way to a good deal of prosperity. Oh, you're on your way. You're not there yet. Okay, there you go. What will I do with the money? I will go up to orbit and float in space. I knew it. This is just a person floating through life. Maybe after experiencing some kind of pain. Who knows? I don't know. Some kind of experience, okay? Not necessarily pain. Respectfully experience. That's not necessarily enjoyable. All right? So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking this goes down to relationship with yourself. You're trying to avoid marriage because you think you can avoid all the negatives that come with marriage. That's like avoiding your shadow. It will work against you and everything you want. All right, we have another video here by Mike Rashid. Bodybuilder, boxing expert, blah blah blah, self-development. Mark Rashid, I think it's the 3rd time he's featuring on our platform here. So he's been coming for, well, this is June 2nd, so almost 2 months ago, but he just came on my radar, just basically coming for, the red pill community. So the question here is, do women prefer red pill or blue pill? Okay. All right, so let me play a little bit of this clip right here, and then we'll get into it.
I noticed that a lot of these red pillars, it is what it is. They want to talk down to women, whatever, and they like to throw out the term simp, right? This is the thing. They act alpha, or they say you're beta, you're a simp. Not one of these guys will say that shit in person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a simp, and I'm not beta.
All right, so there you have it. The red pill community is at this point a religion. I personally don't subscribe to religion as a thing because it's man-made. Okay, anything that's man-made all by itself in its very self, just on its very self, surface value, tend to have the flaws of human, right? Because we're human beings, right? Why? Because it usually comes from a place of judgment. Okay. The reason why I love Jesus and the teachings of Jesus is one of the main reasons is the do not judge part, which is basically the consequence of judging is that you will be judged with the same measure that you judge others, right? And that's a fact of life, and we see it play out. See, the way repercussions, or let me say consequences, come in life It's so fast these days. Like when I see people are rebellious and they're judgmental, including judgmental against themselves, which is guilt, right? It backfires. Because human beings cannot thrive where there is judgment, okay? Including when you judge others, meaning you're pointing fingers, but it's actually affecting you negatively in unseen ways, right? That's literally precisely what demons are, right? It's a demonic thing inside of you that makes you want to judge others. It's so surface and subtle, and it's just part of our character and behaviors that it hurts us so badly, right? It's one of those subtle things that hurt us so badly. It comes very natural, or we just see somebody doing something wrong, we call it out. He's wrong, period. Like, hey, you're wrong, period, right? No, that's wrong. We need to hold those people accountable, right? It comes very subtly like that, right? But it's actually you not even calm down a little bit and say, hey, let me see what's going on behind the scenes, right? Why? Because number one, I'm not the judge. Number one, I'm not trying to persecute anyone. Number three, I'm just trying to understand here just so I can mitigate against whatever risk come with this seemingly wrong behavior. So even if that thing is obviously wrong, the best thing you can do is learn why it happened so you can avoid the consequences of it, because that's the reality, right? You're also involved, especially when relationships are playing out. Right? You're still involved regardless, right? But if your outlook is just judging that thing and calling it wrong and period, right? You're going to miss out a lot more information that you would have found useful, right? Why? Because you're judgmental. That is the reward of judgmental behaviors, right? It's very fast. It's so fast because you create another blind spot for yourself in that moment in time. And that's the problem I see with the red pill community. And like I've always said, not necessarily the red pill philosophy. I don't know everything there is to know about the red pill philosophy. The only thing I know is that what it means when you swallow red pill is that you know. Now you know. It's like eating the forbidden fruit, right? And once you know, you cannot unknow. That's why in life there's some things that honestly you're better off not knowing. I know the natural thing for every human being, the rest of us, all of us, including myself, let me know. I want to do things faster, easier, and simpler, and I want to know everything there is to know. But if that actually happens, it takes away from the essence of life. You miss out on life and love, because life and love are built on faith. Okay? It's a move of faith. When you get married to a person or you get into a romantic relationship with a person, there's no knowing everything. There's no point doing that if you want to know everything up front. Okay? You will miss out on life and love, which is a part of the essence of life itself. It's what makes life life. The idea that I don't know much, but I'm in love. I'm affectionate with the situation, even though I don't know everything. It just feels good. We all feel good at a certain point, and we all feel bad at other points. But red pill, what is fundamentally wrong with it is the idea that you know it all now, and there's nothing else to know. That's religion, by the way. There's nothing else there is to know, and I'm okay with knowing it all so I can deal with life. No, you just missed out on life. And guess what? Not really, because you still have a massive blind spot. The only difference is that it's a blind spot and it's going to eat you up alive, because what you think you know, you still don't know a whole lot at any point in time, as long as you are alive like a regular human being. Okay? So that's what I think is wrong with red pill. And blue pill means opposite. It means you're just floating through life. That's not good either. You don't want to just float through life. You want to know some things. You want to be able to plan into the future. You want to know women for what they are. That's what some red pill claim red pill is about, but it's a lie, because they handle it like a religion. It's not what they agree or admit to. It's their behavior that shows that they handle it like a religion. And I'm not talking about the gurus. I'm talking about the people in the comment areas, which is why I am creating content around comment reactions. Okay. All right, so now with that being said, let's go dive in a little bit into some of the comments here. This was absolutely awful. Take on what it means to be red-pilled and everything surrounding that. Awful, awful. All right, so this person is wrong, okay? I watched I didn't watch everything, but I watched some of the video, this particular video, and they were absolutely on point on what red pill means, and blue pills simply means lack thereof of red pill. And it means you know everything, and now you see everything and you can't unlearn it. That's not necessarily a good thing. It could be a good thing to a certain extent, but again, the problem is when you now close your mind and there's nothing else to learn in life. That's where you have a problem, and that's how a lot of people in the comment move. Let's see an example here. There's a lot of love out here for you, Mike, but respectfully, okay? Respectfully, me, I'm about to disrespect you, by the way. Hey, come on, man. You should know this, right? Brother, you're speaking on a subject that you definitely don't understand. You're speaking from a surface view. To an extent, he's speaking from a surface view, but a lot of times in life, that's all we need to see, because first impression is everything. If I go in the comment area of a red pill guru and all I see is hate for women, what else do you need me to see? Again, you're not wise enough, not smart, because a lot of you guys are smart. You're not wise enough to know that attention and first impressions that's literally what life is about, right? Like the substance behind the scenes, like your honesty, your righteousness, all of these holy things, all your perfection and right and wrong. If that's what you put out front, you're full of shit, because by default, human beings don't have the capability of those things. We do what we do if we consider it right, only because it makes us feel safe. Let's not deceive ourselves, right? Let's not continue to deceive ourselves beyond what we already do, because we all put up a front. We all do that. Even when you write out a whole thesis in a comment, you probably go and edit and delete. Look at this. Does this not say edited? It says edited, meaning you felt like something was wrong, you went back and re-edited, or meaning you made a typo error, maybe it was just a misspelling, but the point is that you're not perfect, right? So let's keep going here. You would have listened to many of these different platforms to hear the real life experiences this man speak on. Well, he said it, and I've said it. These people are speaking on painful experiences. If you're speaking from a painful experience, the only thing you should be doing is finding healing and not using that outlook to judge the rest of life, because you'll miss out on life and love if you do that. Because your experience is just your experience, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But when you consider it wrong, it's only natural for you to defend back hard with something like red pill ideologies, right? And then you bastardize it. Even if red pill meant something good in the first place, you as being an audience wouldn't take the time to internalize it and how you can create a life of love. Even with women, if you haven't taken the time to do that, you will bastardize it because you have a painful experience that you haven't properly healed from. Also, bro, Kevin Samuels never said it was just money. I agree with that. He never said it was just money. If you listen long enough, you will notice that his I value man definition is not bad at all. I would when you look in the comment area, even his audience are bastardizing it, right? So I personally subscribe to high quality man, because value is truly in the eyes of the beholder, the market, but quality is a little bit of a deeper conversation, right? But again, it's not about the semantics, right? Brother, please do your research before speaking on something so serious. Again, I don't agree with this person, because first impression is everything. If I go in the comment area of Kevin Samuels or any of these other gurus, Greg something, Rolo, or the Fresh and Fit, and I see just toxic, negative men who are looking for a way to pull women down, that's all I need to see. And that's all there is. And that tells me how they behave in their relationships. Red Pill deals more with understanding the true nature of women, not men crying out about their broken heart. That's exactly what they're doing in the comment. In fact, reading between the lines of this old type up here, that's exactly what you're doing too. Right? Again, reading between the lines. My opinion, check out a platform like Coach Greg Adams and see if he tells any lies. Now, I don't know, I haven't listened to Coach Greg yet, but some other ones I've listened to, they're absolutely on point in a lot of ways. But when people are going through pain, they don't listen through themselves. They create all of this fight against women, and you will barely see a Coach Greg. I'm suspecting you will barely see him talking down on women. But he's saying some things that could be triggered that will get his audience thinking that the women are the enemy. And from what I've seen so far, that's not the message of Red Pill, but that's the message of the Red Pill audience. And that's something that needs to be checked, and that's real life part of it, right? So I don't want to get into it too much, because I don't want this channel to be about Red Pill. It's about mentorship for men. It's about opening your eyes so that you can see beyond just some kind of religious belief system. Okay, I want you to learn yourself, have a good relationship with yourself, and let's take it from there. And then everything else is something that you create personally, because you're a God in your own right, and you deserve to create the life that favors you, not just short term, but more so in the long term. All right, so we have Anton Daniels featuring again this week with his content. He's putting out a lot of content, and again, it's coming up on my radar for obvious reasons. That's just how YouTube works, right? And yes, I'm subscribed to him, and I enjoy a lot of the things he's saying, and I disagree with him quite a bit too, but no big deal, just differences, right? But for the most part, the way he's handling both sides of a lot of their arguments, I like it, okay? And I like more so that he has his own core. He has his own belief system. You know that saying that if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for anything. He stands for something, and that's good. That's really, it's not about, like I always say, right and wrong are irrelevant. I disagree with him on thinking life is about black and white, because if it was, there would not be all of this conversation on his channel. It's just not, okay? These conversations exist because life is not about black and white. That's just an outlook. That's his personal outlook, and that's fine. That's okay. But it's even better if you know that other people don't see things as black and white. At least don't act that way, right? They don't act that way. Their behavior shows that there is all kind of shades of gray in between, right? So anyway, case in point, there's this gentleman who came on his channel who I respect. I think he has a lot to learn. This gentleman on the right hand side, he has a lot to learn, and I think he's going to learn a lot more from the ladies. And I appreciate this video because there's a lady on the episode or edition of his videos that he could have learned a lot from, but not from what she's saying, because I don't believe that most women can teach you anything about being a man. Most women can't. A very, very small percentage of women that have an idea, an ounce of an idea. But you can watch women's action and learn a lot of what you're supposed to be as a man who wants to attract a woman that will love you back only. Okay? I'm not talking about men that don't want to attract women that will love them back. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you. If what you want is to attract a woman that will actually love you back, be loyal, respectful, right? Respect, trust, and submit to your leadership. If that's what you want, the best teacher is to watch women and see how they react to things, including when they are in their masculine, because that's when you learn. That's when you actually learn the most. You don't learn from a woman who is in her essence of femininity, right? Because she's perfect, so you're feeling good. But you learn when there's crisis. How do you know there's crisis? Because a woman will go into a masculine, right? Because she's trying to protect herself. It's extremely natural for any woman to go into her masculine when she's trying to protect herself, because the idea of protection is masculine. See, when a woman doesn't feel safe and secure, she will protect herself, but she will not necessarily admit that, because she's doing that because she doesn't. It's subtle aggressive behavior that's going on as a natural human being who is a woman, right? So if you are paying attention, you will know that the solution is not to go into your feminine, right? The solution is to actually remain in your masculine core, become the rock of that situation, right? Because if you do that, she will naturally go back to her equilibrium, which is being feminine. But if you now try to yell at her or try to hold her accountable in that spirit, you're now caught up in your emotions and you're not going into your feminine side. So you're out of order, she's out of order, you have chaos, right? And again, all of this is not in what you guys are saying, it's all in the actions, right? You don't get to admit if this is correct, what I just said. This is just what it is, right? So, but anyway, he's not listening. He's saying a lot. Like most of the people who are learning the wrong things from this new masculine alpha movement, right? Toxic, by the way, and I'm not gonna take that back. Extremely toxic masculine needs to be checked. This is why I started these conversations, because at least one or two people can hear this and say, maybe there's more to learn. Don't take my word. I don't want you to do that. I want you to take just a little bit of insight and go study more. That's what I want you to do. All right, so now with that being said, this dude came here and called Anton a beta simp, okay? And he said it in a very passive aggressive way, and I thought it was funny as well. But let's play some of the video.
What do you bring to the table of a relationship, sir?
He said, "What do you bring to the table of a relationship, sir?"
You know, I'm trustworthy.
I don't know.
He said, "I'm trustworthy." A lot of modern men think this is a thing that ladies want or need. They may want it. That's not what they need. Okay?
Trustworthy?
What you say? Honesty and
He said trustworthy and honesty. There's a lot of men making these mistakes. What a woman needs is not trustworthiness and honesty. What she needs is not something that most women can necessarily communicate. It's not necessarily what I'm about to say. It's not necessarily what they will admit to or they're able to admit to. What they need is to feel safe and secure. So if you bring honesty and trustworthy and it doesn't make her feel safe and secure, you've got a serious active problem in your hands and it will destroy your relationship. So the one common denominator that they all want, regardless of how that plays out in their love language, is to feel safe and secure. They don't ask any further question. Most women don't ask further questions when they feel safe and secure. Is that necessarily a good or bad thing? That's irrelevant to what we're talking about. What I'm saying is that she needs to feel safe and secure. Heck, even men need to feel safe and secure. What that looks like for a man is they need to feel like the hero or the leader in the relationship for the most part. There's always exceptions to the rule, okay? So this man, what I've noticed is that a lot of people in the red pill community, in the MGTOW community, in the people in the, what do you call it? The manosphere or black manosphere, whatever, they tend to think being honest is enough because the woman said they wanted honesty. Like, that's not a relationship requirement. That's a human life requirement, period. Nobody likes anybody to lie to them. Okay, that's just the basic bare minimum of being a human being. You're supposed to be honest. That's not a requirement. That shouldn't be a requirement. Are people going to be dishonest? Yes, they will. That's a fact of life. Everyone will be dishonest because everyone put up a front because they're trying to make a better impression, right? And they do it sometimes very subtly, not necessarily deliberately or intentionally. Now, how do you manage life and love and relationships in the midst of that? That's the real conversation that we need to be having. But again, gentlemen would like to listen to black and white type of conversation. They think it should be as black and white as, hey, I'm honest. You should just accept me and be in your femininity and just submit and trust. This is where you're missing it. This is where you're missing it. You're not asking deeper questions because you think you want to keep it, you want to keep scores with a woman. You need to learn how to lead, period. Learn how to lead the ladies. But that's the society we still live in, period. Right? They don't get to tell you how to do that because most of them can't. They're not able to. That is still not an excuse not to learn how to be a man. Okay?
trustworthiness. Yeah, all that.
That's called you supposed to be. That's a very human character.
You're supposed to be
That's
honest. That's not
Bring it
something you
deep.
bring to the table for a relationship. You got to bring a little bit more than, quote unquote, your messed up definition of honesty, which is flawed, by the way. But let's continue here.
You said you could bring good D. You
Yeah.
bring that D.
Yeah, I'm getting other stuff too. You know what I mean?
It doesn't even sound confident. He brings the D, but doesn't sound confident. It sounds like somebody, he can't look in his eyes when he's saying that. And you can see that he's playing him too, like as usual. Anton is playing him, but he doesn't see that.
like, you know.
It's a level of awkwardness in the way he answers this question. If Anton asked me this question, I'd be like, why? Why do you want to know? Why are you so interested in my D? That's the question I would ask, right? Like, that's weird, right? But anyway, let's continue. But of course, he finds himself in an awkward position, in a feminine position, when men find themselves talking so loud in the comment area. This is not your platform. You're talking so loud, you're trying to argue so hard in the comment area, or you call into a show, you're arguing a lot. See, if I have to call into a show, I'm calling in to give props to the person that's on the show. If I have to call in to argue with them, I probably just wouldn't. That's their platform. I don't have to disagree with them. If there's a conversation that needs to be had, I'll create the platform. I'll talk about it. If I can't figure out how to create the platform, then it's not that important. But when the man gets in the place, they have to argue tit for tat with women and back and forth. That's feminine energy. Just saying, your actions, not what you admit to.
Laying it down. You laying it down.
I give great massages.
That's very weird. Even the girls, he gives great massages. He's sharing that with Anton. This is weird. Weird conversations. Anton is playing him because he's a player who's like pressing button of a puppet, right? But he's playing along because he's a true beta male. Beta males are lousy, regardless of the facts that could be absolutely true, by the way, that they're spilling in the comment area, but they're loud. They're the empty barrel. They make the loudest noise. They know all the facts. They know all the statistics. But when it comes to game, they're low. You can see the face of this young lady. She's weirdo, right?
All kind of massages and good conversation, right?
Yeah. Saying treat her right.
It's bullshit.
All right, sounds good.
But this is the thing. It's not a give. It's not if it's not a give and take, and she's just taking.
There you go. Man trying to play give and take. That's how you go wrong. If you're a true masculine, you don't care about the taking. You just love giving. But you give to self first. When you give to self first, other people don't have a choice than to give to you. Meaning you get to receive. Take is aggressive. It's brutal honesty. It doesn't work in relationships. It works against you. Conversation for another day. When I hear men say give and take, it tells me volume of how they handle relationships. It's the weirdest thing ever. And it's a very feminine energy.
You know that pipe.
You know what I mean? Why would you bring that to the table if only thing they're going to do is eat? You get what I'm saying?
If all they're going to do is eat, why would you bring that to the table? This is a person who considers themselves masculine saying this. We can't make this shit up. Like your godfather would say, Godfather Kevin Samuel, right? You can't make this shit up.
And like, it's got to be more. It's got to be you bring something to the table too.
You bring something to the table too, but you want to be the man who commands or attract submission, trust, and respect in the same breath. That's an oxymoron, right? It is, right?
You know what I'm saying? And you talk about, hey, don't ask that question, and you the main one asking that question.
But do you realize the reason?
The point, he missed the point that he's asking that question because he's trying to tell you not to ask that question. Don't ask a lady what she brings to the table. That's feminine energy. It is. It is very common. I know what I'm talking about. That's why we're talking about it. We're getting to the conversation.
That I'm asking is the stuff that I see you typing in the chats. I have to pose this stuff back to you because you be.
If you're gonna ask ladies what they bring to the table, I hope that you're bringing a lot. That's the point. It's never the words that are coming out of our mouth. Even what I'm saying, you have to read between the lines. You have to internalize this. You have to watch this video a few times to grasp everything I'm trying to say. If you're not patient enough to listen to what I'm saying before you argue with it, that is feminine energy. Actions speak louder than words.
You typing hard. You got your keyboard out.
Listen, you treat her like a queen, she gonna treat you like a servant.
You treat her like a queen, she gonna treat you like a servant. I can't make this shit up. Yeah. It's getting real. It's getting real, right? Anyway, so, but that's what you have in the comments of a lot of manosphere red pill community. What the gurus are preaching is something else. But again, it's not about the words. How it's being received is another thing entirely. That's why you need to hire some of those guys as a coach so they can help you internalize what you're hearing. Because hearing it and running with it is not going to help you. It's going to destroy all the relationships you actually care about, even if you don't admit that you care about it. right? Even if you're actively trying to run away from a marriage, you're still going to be in relationships. You still want some of this. You still want the women, right? It's never mind what you admit to. I'm talking about what's going on up here, right?
Hey, look at this.
You treat her like a star,
Hold on.
she's gonna treat you like a fan.
Right here.
Okay, so watch this. Somebody put a comment on the screen and say, at this point, Anton is just a complete simp. I don't care if I get blocked at this point. So when a person comes and say, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, that's feminine energy. Okay? Yes, men do showcase feminine energy when they get caught up in their emotions, meaning they can be a rock of any type of situation. They can't listen long enough to understand another person's differences, right, in character and how they see life. All they see is the religion of red pill, and that's it. No more, no less, right? It's about your actions. It's not about the words. So don't save yourself. Don't try to explain to me in words, right? So just save it, okay? I like comments because that will help our channel grow. But honestly, don't argue with yourself because that's feminine energy, okay? Create a platform. Let me see how far you can go to want to push that agenda, right? I'm not pushing agenda. I'm trying to have a conversation, ask questions. See, feminine energy is arguing, but masculine energy does not mind asking questions. So when you ask a lady a question and you're trying to understand her, this simps would call it a simp behavior, right?
You know what I'm saying?
Anton
And
is a
guys gotta
complete
understand
simp.
that.
Now watch this. This is the most interesting
am I
part
a
of
simp,
this, right?
Eric?
You don't think so? I mean, look, you got
That's
married.
a direct
right?
question. Am I a simp?
Yes. You were
a
making
simp.
them.
He said, am I a simp? He said, yes. He can't even say that with a straight face. Feminine energy. There's nothing wrong with feminine energy, but it's out of order when somebody tries to say they're masculine, but they're actually showing feminine energy. That's the problem, okay? They're not agreeing with themselves. It's a disagreement going on inside of that person. And then they wonder why they cannot attract a woman who will submit, trust, and respect them, right? It's not possible, right?
No provider. You a beta provider.
A beta male provider.
He called him a beta male provider. Can't make this shit up, right? So this person says a lot of these dudes are taking this red pill thing way too serious. See, when you take yourself too seriously, that's also, I wouldn't say that's feminine energy per se. I need to unpack that a little bit more. But that right there is how you lose a woman, right? You take yourself you don't know how to have a little fun with learning something new. I think the red pill ideologies would be an interesting thing to learn without taking it too seriously, because when you take it too seriously, that's religious behavior, and it works against relationships all the time, okay? In the new world that we're in, okay? Because you're not going to stop the ladies from discovering knowledge. You're just not going to stop it. The question is, are you going to be leader enough to still attract submission, trust, and respect from them? That's the question. How is Anton a simp for providing for his family? This is what they're saying. It started with him getting married. If he got married, he's a simp. That's what these kids are saying. And a lot of overgrown adolescent kids that are following Kevin Samuels and them. A lot of them are still in the marriage. They just don't know how to get out, but they're enjoying the conversation because they feel like women are the enemy. As a man, you should be on your purpose to be in the position to provide for your family. Yeah, you shouldn't even date or get married if you're not in that position. So the problem with this conversation, they would not even admit to wanting to date or get married. The most toxic ones are actually saying they don't want it. And it's a lie, it's cap, right? Maybe some of the women do have a point when they say men don't want to be traditional themselves, but expect traditional. No, it's not maybe. They're absolutely correct. See, anytime you see this kind of chaos that's going on in the conversations, there's a real reason. The reason is in the mirror. It's in the mirror. It's right there in the mirror. And that's the truth. Both sides need to be accountable. I'm fine with red pill holding women accountable. No, this is ridiculous. You shouldn't be fine with that because it doesn't work. Not because they don't have the right to do what they want. It just doesn't work. But some of these red pill men are simply beta males. Not some. If you're following the red pill ideology to the T, where you are taking it so seriously like a religion, you are a beta male. You are the real simp. I'm letting you know right now. And other men should hold them accountable too. Well, the other men holding them accountable, if you're not in my position where you're actually trying to save some by just having these conversations, no, nobody owes you shit in life. We don't have to hold anyone accountable other than ourselves. You have to hold yourself accountable and you will attract what you are. That's how life works. That is how life works. You don't hold other people accountable, much less women if you're a man. It's a ridiculous losing battle effort. It doesn't work. That dude doesn't represent any of us. Yes, he does. Don't take him serious. Yes, he does. See, when you use the word us, that's all I needed to see to know that you're actually like that. I just have to have conversation long enough with you to prove it. Yeah, taking care of family isn't simping. Yes, this is the extreme. To the red pill community, not the gurus necessarily, but the people following them, yes, it is. Taking care of a family is simping. Just because this dude said that doesn't mean that that's red pill ideology. This is own thoughts. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. All right, that's all I have for you. Hopefully you found that educational and enlightening. Oh yeah, by the way, you can go ahead and if you're brand new here or anything like that, I do teach people how to make money in real estate from home. You don't need a license. You don't need anything like that. So what I'm going to share with you is this right here. Okay, you can absolutely go and let's see here. I forgot this today. Please make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Give all our videos a thumbs up if you want to see them more. That increases your chance of seeing the next video and the new release videos. And this book right here, this is the book I wrote. And this book, I'm going to give this as a bonus, even better. I'm going to give you two. Just simply go to realestatemoneysecrets.com. That's a plural. realestatemoneysecrets.com. Let me put that on the screen. Real estate, www.realestatemoneysecrets.com. All right, so if you are in your purpose and you want to have additional stream of income, this is good stuff right here. This right here, go there and you'll be able to get that book for free. Okay, also I am running a free masterclass workshop. It's 3 hours of me just pouring out a bunch of game on how to make money. Doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter, you know, but if you get your money right, the ladies will come. Okay, and then you have options as well. Okay, so let's make sure you do that. It's a masterclass, it's a workshop. Okay, you also want to go and register, grab a free ticket to the workshop. It's at Flip House. Is that Flip Houses Nationwide? Let me make sure I get that correct. But you can access everything from Real Estate Money Secrets. Okay, but let me make sure I get that right. Flip Houses Nationwide. Yeah, Flip Houses Nationwide. That's what it is. Let me make sure I correct that. It's Flip Houses, plural, nationwide. Okay, this right here. So make sure you go attend the workshop and take it from there for 3 straight hours. Just free game on how the business works, and then if you want me to help you raise that business from scratch, 100% from home. You don't have to go to a realtor, a broker, get licensed. You don't need your own cash for capital. You don't need good credit. You don't. Okay, you don't need, what else don't you need? No need for cash for capital, no need for good credit, no need for experience. You don't need experience, and that's how that works. All right, and hopefully you've been enlightened and educated, and then I'll see you on the next one, and peace.